observer. But the stories I'm about to share with you will make you do anything but smile. These are scary stories. Many of these stories are true. Some of these stories may be the figment of someone else's imagination. But at the end of the day, it's up for you to decide. Be forewarned. These stories are scary. If you have a heart problem, you may not want to listen. But the brave few of you who do, I think you will find a certain delight in the unknown and the frightful. Let us begin. Our first story comes to us from a Redditor, Carmi. Me and my family moved to Phoenix, Arizona from Tucson last year. We were used to living in tightly compacted neighborhoods with community pools and a whole lot. You know the deal. Little to no backyard. Every house has the same floor plan, etc. Then one day my parents decided they had enough of cramped city life and decided they wanted to live on a horse property up north in Phoenix, closer to family and more job opportunities among plenty more reasons. I'm not sure quite exactly what the main motivation was though. The property they bought was pretty much built to house horses, sheep, etc. I wouldn't call it a farm, but it felt a lot like one. It was 3 acres of huge shade trees, dirt, and the occasional grass patch. It was pressed right up on South Mountain, high up enough so that at night you could see the Phoenix city lights. The house itself was luxurious enough, 2 stories, Spanish hacienda style, kind of old looking. I don't know how much about the house's history other than the previous owners were a flamboyant retired couple who decided Arizona heat wasn't their cup of tea anymore. Upon moving in on the first night, we encountered a pack of coyotes sniffing around the property line and a scorpion in the kitchen counter. So I don't quite blame them. I liked the house, I guess. It felt a bit barren and lonely at first. But a few months in, we had our 4 house horses, plenty of goats, and even a friendly chicken named Helena. The property was bustling, to say the least. I liked my school. Home life wasn't boring, and our family was okay. I settled in quickly. The only thing that may have hinted towards a bit of oddness was 6 months after we moved in. My dad worked as a truck driver for Home Time for some time and had to go up into Ohio for a few weeks. He returned with a female Belgian Tervuren dog. The dog was already a little old, about 8 years old, and acquired right off in Amish community. But that was good because it meant she was already experienced with animals. We named her Sasha, after the dog in the book, Saving Sasha, and found she settled in quickly. She was pretty strange. She was very hasty about coming inside the first few nights. We assumed it was because she wasn't allowed to where she came from. But even she got comfortable slipping in and out of the house. She preferred sleeping on the back porch despite how hot it got in the summer. Though she adored running around the property and around the central parts of the house, where most of the commotion would happen, kitchen, living room, she had a horrid fear of my room. She was already reluctant about going upstairs in general, yet sometimes followed anyway. However, my bedroom was hell for her. We even one day tried to shove her in, and she promptly dug her claws in the floor and scrambled away. One night, when we were hosting a small get-together with the family, we noticed Sasha was missing. The Arcadia door was wide open the whole time, though, so we just presumed she was out mingling with the animals to hide away from all the people. We ignored the situation and continued on chatting and eating until all of a sudden there was a loud bang, followed by a symphony of vicious barking and growling. I've heard Sasha bark and growl plenty of times, warning signs to strangers, protecting her food from insistent goats, even at coyotes. And all had sounded downright intimidating at the time, but this took the cake. She sounded absolutely ready to kill. It made everyone promptly freak out and rush upstairs, only to find Sasha was directing her attack at something in my doorway. We turned the corner expecting to find a snake or maybe even an intruder, but instead we find nothing. Absolutely nothing. Thin air. We didn't know what to attribute to the loud bang, but my family preferred to just ignore that and call Sasha old and delusional. We had to rip her away from the doorway and shove her outside, and even then she clawed urgently at the door as if she felt the need to defend us from something. It scared me, but I avoided speaking up about it under the fear that my family laugh at me and call me paranoid. Flash forward to now. I had just gotten home from school. The house was relatively empty as both parents were working, and my siblings had sports practice. Sasha was sprawled out in the dirt under a tree, eyeing up the goats and wagging her tail, when a baby goat sniffed her warily. I knocked on the screen door to grab her attention, not quite wanting to be alone in the house when I had a dog. Obediently, she sprinted towards the door and leaped through before making herself cozy on the cool towel in the kitchen. I already grabbed the Sprite from the refrigerator and was ready to throw myself down on the couch and turn on the TV, when suddenly there was a loud bang. Sasha immediately jumped up and began growling, pointing her body like an arrow in the staircases, as if it were prey. I immediately felt chills run through my whole body. Forgive me if I sound a little too paranoid, but I am a 110-pound, 5'3" female who has little to no chance of surviving an attacker. Naturally, I bounded over to the kitchen and grabbed the biggest knife I could find, convinced that if I was armed, I could maybe overpower the obvious intruder. Sasha beat me to investigating the situation as she promptly ran straight up the stairs and left me in the dust. Fearing the worst for the slightly too confident dog, I ran up after her. To my utter shock, she bounded right into my room. Heart set on once and for all devouring whatever it was she was so scared of. My room is quite large and has a walk-in closet with no doors, so you quite literally have to walk in. Therefore, it surprised me when she drove straight into the back end of my closet and began sniffing and snorting insistently on the wall behind my rack of clothes and even scratching. I sighed. Okay, maybe a mouse in the wall or something, that I presumed. I know it doesn't explain the loud bang, but I was ready to try and rationalize anything. Still curious though. I walked up to where Sasha was snoring around and hesitantly pulled back the rack of clothes. There was a square cut into the wallpaper. It was door-shaped and could fit an average person, but was short enough that said person would have to crawl to enter. I at first did not realize it was a door. It doesn't really look like one, rather just a perfectly aligned tear-run wallpaper. But about running my fingers along and force shoving one in, I found it flopped forward and fell to the floor with a heavy clap. It cut out of my wall. Alright. There was a light source from somewhere inside this crawl space, I guess. I'm the biggest scaredy cat and would probably live in a scary movie because of how I absolutely nope out of any potentially dangerous situation, which is exactly what I did. I got a peek of what looked like a room and bolted. I raced down the stairs and out the back door so quickly my thigh actually cramped because I moved so quickly. The first thing I did was race to the safety of the animals. Yeah, they can't help, but other living things are comforting and grabbed my phone out of my pocket. Sasha followed me a little more slowly and peering behind her shoulder every few seconds as if she knew exactly what was happening and was more fed up than frightened. I dialed my mom immediately, but she answered with a choppy, "I'm at work, sweetheart. You know not to call me here. I get off in 15 minutes. I'll call you back. Love you. Bye." I was then hung up on. I tried next to call my brother and my sister, but both phones were turned off. I felt like ripping out my hair. I contemplated dialing 911, but what for? I needed emergency assistance because I found a crawl space in my house. What if there was absolutely nothing in it, in the broad daylight and with horses staring at me? Nothing. And with horses staring at me, curiosity like nothing happened. It felt ridiculous to freak out so much over something as simple as that. I finally worked up courage to at least check what was in there after 5 minutes or so. When I went back up, flanked by Sasha, who no longer looked angry but rather curious, I found everything to be exactly the same. The cutout of my wall still sitting neatly on my floor, and the bright illuminated hole still standing patiently. Slowly, I crouched down and peered through. Boxes. There was loads of them. They seemed pretty tame, and I seemed to be the only thing in there from my view. I would have never gone in there myself, besides her zip right through when she realized I wasn't running away from it. I began sniffing around in there. I tried calling her out, but she just looked at me over her shoulder like a disapproving mother-in-law, and continued her quest for interesting sense. Feeling like she was never going to get out, I was faced with the reality that I have to crawl in and get her out myself. So I did. The room was so small that even at my short height, I felt the ceiling brush my head every time I took a step. A few steps in, as I observed the stacks of cardboard boxes, I came across something. A blue sleeping bag. At first I froze. Absolutely positive some psycho was right behind me and was going to clamp the hole shut and lock me in for all eternity because I discovered their secret. But then I rationalized that maybe it was some more junk that happened to be out neatly on the floor coincidentally. So I worked up the courage to approach the sleeping bag. As more of it came into view, I noticed a small camera positioned neatly on top. Next to it was a jar of salted peanuts. I would have frozen up again, and I did, but much more briefly this time, as I had already given myself enough scares for it to get old. I crouched down and picked up the video camera. It was an old style one, the one that had a little flip-out viewing screen. It turned on and had a nearly full battery percentage. Just then I heard the front door slam and immediately bolted out of the room, camera in hand. It turned out it was just my mom returning from work, as promised. I immediately ran down to explain what happened desperately. She was a skeptic, rolling her eyes and throwing around the word "really" a few times, before finally becoming convinced to follow me up the stairs. She poked around in the room as well. We found the boxes to be full of normal attic junk, old toys, figurines, blankets, and kitchen Tupperware. The sleeping bag and the snacks were still there. When I presented to her the camera, my mom, always the better thinker, quickly said we had to view what was on it. Grabbing a fire or something cord, I have little to no education on stuff like this, and some other things, she hooked it up to our TV. The first tape was of the mountain, South Mountain to be precise. The cameraman was zoomed in on the mountain, recording the rows of red blinking lights on the antennas at the top of the mountain before zooming out and giving a view of the street, our street. He walks for a bit before stopping and turning to zoom in on our neighbor's house. He views them for a while before continuing to walk. At one point, the cameraman even points the camera downwards and zooms in on his own feet, which are covered in brown boots. The guy turns and finally his this camera rests on our house. There's a sigh from the cameraman, and then the clip ends. In the next one, it's daytime. The cameraman is in a parking lot. He walks confidently, normally, into a supermarket and begins browsing some watermelon towards the entrance silently. It's pretty boring, stretching out for a good 4 minutes or so, until suddenly he aims his camera up and zooms in on a cluster of people. It's unclear what he's focusing on until an elderly couple came into view. I recognized them immediately. They're the couple that lived on the property before we moved in. The cameraman keeps his camera aimed on them for the rest of the video. He moves with them, keeping a safe distance, but he never loses sight of them. He follows them through the whole store and peeks over aisles to get shots of them. Abruptly, the camera turns into a store employee who taps the cameraman's shoulder angrily and inquires on what exactly he's filming. The clip ends. The next is the first absolutely alarming tape. It starts out with the camera pointing downwards, shaking as the man walks. It's nighttime, and it's very obviously the side of our house. The cameraman stops as he reaches the kitchen window and aims his camera right through the window pane, where the couple are playing music loudly and sipping wine happily. They began to playfully dance with each other as the old man talks about moving up towards Canada. They went through with this. The rest of the clip is merely watching them. For the next 5 clips, it's just the cameraman spying on them in dental appointments from their backyard. And at one point, the cameraman slips through the door when it's left unlocked, and he begins poking around their items. At one clip, the first thing seen is the front of the house, the man waiting with a ragged breath in presumably a bush. It's nighttime. Again, he's very obviously excited for something. For the first time, we hear him talk as he whispers, "Come on," urgently. It's unclear what exactly he's waiting for until the old couple comes outside to their lawn. The cameraman jumps up from a crouching position, but then the couple is joined by 3 other people, a couple and their child. They're all carrying drinks and settle themselves in lawn chairs, clearly planning on spending the rest of the night lounging around outside. The cameraman practically slumps and sits back down. He watches them for 10 minutes until his camera points downwards. He has a gun laying neatly in his lap. The last clip the cameraman has of the couple is when they are moving. The final moving trucks come to get the last of their furniture, and the clip pretty much consists of the couple standing around outside, complaining about how hot it is and barking orders at movers. The next clip is of a real estate agent. I recognize her immediately too. She's the one who sold us the property. She's walking around confidently surveying the stables and the exterior of the house. She opens her cell phone and makes a call to somebody about how dingy the place is and how she'll never sell the dump without some major flipping. And looks pleased when it seems she wins an argument. She then leaves, and the clip ends. The next clip is of me. This time is positioned from inside the room. The cutout door is obviously taken away, and the cameraman pokes his camera lens through the rack of my clothes discreetly to film me. I'm walking around angrily, arguing on the phone with my dad about how he never comes straight home when he gets back in town. I remember that day clearly. I finally hung up on my dad and threw the phone on my bed before walking out. The clip in. The next clip is of that day that Sasha freaked out. The cameraman is positioned on the top of the stairs, lying down and trying his best to discreetly film us through the railing. Sasha is lying down on the floor boredly. The cameraman zooms in on her, then back out on the rest of the family. He seems to zoom in on everything. The food, each of our faces, and at one point on my mom's butt. Then goes on for an agonizingly long time before he suddenly accidentally drops his camera on the next step, creating the loud bang we heard. Even dropped, the cameraman still records Sasha jumping up and racing up to the noise. The cameraman scurries to collect his camera and all about throws himself through my closet and into the room. Sasha follows him straight in, barking and growling angrily. He tries to wave her away, but she merely snarls at him and tries to snap at his hand. With no choice left, he turns and grabs a small elephant figurine lying in a box and throws it at her. It hits her forehead and is enough to scare her into backing out of the room. But she still barks insistently at the doorway. The figurine slides into my dresser, and when the cameraman hears us clambering up the stairs, he plugs the hole with the cutout and waits with a ragged breath. Our muffled voices, concerned and confused, are heard in the room. The cameraman listens until we shrug and drag her back down the stairs. The clip ends. It's not the last clip. There are tons more, with plenty of recent dates. But we don't bother to catch them, to watch them. My mom called the police a while ago, and a bunch of cop cars came. I've been frozen in the corner for hours as the cops questioned everybody. My siblings came home and were pretty angry at the sight of police and accused me and my mom of overreacting. They just vaguely heard snippets of us discovering a crawlspace. But I hardly care if they understand. I'm still trying to process everything myself. I'm just trying to understand what caused the bang that made me find a room in the first place. This next story is by Brian the Lady. I was working on an old house built in 1915 in Connecticut and staying there by myself. The owner, my fiance, said weird things went on there. She wouldn't stay upstairs anymore after waking up unable to move late one night after hearing noises. I heard footsteps upstairs at night and saw a weird light in the far room downstairs at night. I thought maybe the house was settling and the light shining from outside, even though there was no light source outside. One night I was bored and decided to play Ouija online on my laptop computer. I had never done it before. I don't know why I did it. During the session, I felt I was being watched. I noticed what looked like the faint outlines of a face on the wall. I freaked out and ran in the other room. When I came back in, the face was gone. But there's more. When I woke up the next day, there were a few broken dishes laying in the kitchen, and my laptop was laying on the ground, almost like somebody had thrown it from the table. I had left it on. I'm a pretty heavy sleeper, so I didn't remember hearing anything. This house has always had a problem keeping tenants for long. I know 2 tenants did not stay there the last few months of their lease. Playing with the Ouija is no joke and is dangerous, especially alone and in a place like that. And it wasn't even a real Ouija board. I never believed in any paranormal thing before this night. The next story is by Redditor Centuria. I don't remember a lot of the details, but a friend had brought her Ouija board to my apartment for us to fiddle around with. It said a lot of creepy things and didn't seem to particularly care for me. I don't remember if we had asked any specific question from the board, spelled out my name, and then told me hide. From what I asked him, the group of us jumped back. I screamed and ran into the kitchen, grabbed my salt shaker, and tossed it all on the board. That was the end of Ouija board for the evening. My door and windows were lined with salt that night. This very last story is by Cadbury 1987. Back in high school, I went through a phase where I was into witchcraft and spells. I started using Ouija boards with friends. My first experience was on the playground in year 9. It was a piece of paper with the numbers and letters on it. Our class was playing sport not far from us. My 2 other friends started asking questions, and not 5 minutes in, we hear this faint boom from the drain next to us. We stop and look at each other and then decide to ignore it. We kept going, and a few minutes later the boom is louder and closer. We scream and run to class. They apparently heard nothing. Another time was at a friend's house, and the words spelled out die, B-I-T-C-H. It freaked us out. My mom told me that the girls she knew from school had played with one, and the girl she was friends with was never the same afterward. She became nasty and withdrawn from the group ever since, like she was possessed. I've read to you many Ouija board stories, however, people in the words of my grandmother, people don't know fire is hot until it burns them. So be careful playing with Ouija boards. In fact, don't play with Ouija boards at all. You are not speaking to angels. You are not speaking to good spirits. You are speaking to evil, demonic entities that will manipulate you. And if they have a way to get inside of you, they will come in. And then your life will become a living hell. So please, take my advice. Don't play with Ouija boards. This is Smiling Observer, and I'm out.